make themselves lighter, have a lighter complexion. I think they're insecure about who they are, and they see it as white being pretty.
What we see in a contemporary cultural framework is the exportation of American images into these countries. And so all of the things that we talk about in relation to the way the black-white binary with African Americans in this country, we see playing out in other countries as well. The most popular movies in these countries are Hollywood films. The most popular images are images coming out of the West. The depictions of African Americans that exist here also exist there. So people who may not even have a great deal of interchange with, African communities and so on, see them through the Western lens that comes out of this country.
In the particular area where I'm from, East Africa, the notion of if a woman is treated differently for her skin tone, dark or light, it depends. It's traditionally, Ethiopia is a feudal society, starts with kings and queens. It's one of the only uncolonized places in Africa. So their history doesn't start with a paradigm of white first. So there are regions where chocolate is the most highest standard of beauty. Then there is the feudal system where you have kings and queens. The woman's not going to be dark because a lot of times the dark thing is like someone who's maybe an agriculturalist person or something, a little bit in the sun too much. Or you wouldn't, for the royalty type of thing, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, wouldn't be dark. You'd be lighter.
It's funny because I was raised with my grandmother always telling us to make sure we marry light to progress the race. And even till today, I have an aunt that tells my cousin not to sit in the sun because she'll get too dark. It's funny because I was raised with my grandmother always telling us to make sure we marry light to progress the race. And even till today, I have an aunt that tells my cousin not to sit in the sun because she'll get too dark.
Growing up in Panama, I did experience the difference between dark skin and light skin. And being in a family where there's every shade, thankfully, the messages were positive in my family. But I grew up very aware of the variety of ideas about dark skin not being favorable. Quotes like, you need to improve the race, don't marry black. And if you do, marry light skin. That kind of foolishness.
If a young child is constantly taught that Europe is the pinnacle of civilization, that all great ideas came out of England, came out of France, came out of Germany, and they're a young, say, Egyptian child in the Nile Delta, they're not going to look within their own community and within themselves to see greatness. They're going to look outside of their community and aspire to that. And I think this plays out in the way in which we perceive of ourselves physically as well.
I think, this is my opinion, the reason why women in Africa try to bleach their skin, because it's what they perpetrate on TV, because over there, most of the stuff that they watch, it's not really what you would call African TVs and stuff like that. It's pretty much Western culture and all of that stuff that is televised over there. So most of the women wants to have, because what they see on TV over there are lighter skinned women with nice hair and all of that stuff. So some of them want to be like that. So that's why some of them bleach their skin, because they think the lighter their skin is, the chances they have to actually one day be on TV or get noticed by people. So they think bleaching skin or lighter skin is much, much better than dark skin.
You know, it's really interesting now how for so long we as black women would go out of our way to try to emulate the beauty ideals of white women, you know, straightening our hair and for some even bleaching their skin. But now it's really interesting to me how more and more women of other cultures, especially white women, are growing to embrace the things that for so long have been unique to us.
Hi, Cindy. All right, so we are going to start with you turning around. I'm going to do your back first. Okay. That way you can get comfortable in the tent and with the whole procedure. And by the time I have you spin around, you will have been in there for a couple of minutes, so you'll feel nice and comfortable. There is just something about being tan and having tan skin that makes muscle definition look better, and it makes me feel healthier. It makes me feel better. It definitely... any imperfections that I might feel that I have are covered by a tan. It just makes me feel good. It makes me feel more confident, and it's pretty. It's pretty.
I really believe everybody wants to be black, except black folks. I used to do comedy on Venice Beach. I did that there for 9 years. And when I would do comedy, I would do a piece called the racism piece. And I would stand a white person next to me. And I would say, well, look at white people. You know, they call us colored. But we always our color, whatever color we are. If we come out, we brown, we always brown, we end up brown. White people, when they born, they're pink. When they're mad, they're red. When they cold, they blue. When they die, they gray. Them the colored people, you know. But we, our people, we have all these beautiful shades of brownness, and chocolate, and black, and beige, and every color is lovely and beautiful. So our beauty is really our state of mind.
There are these sorts of senses that these images are carefully chosen to communicate certain ideas. Where I have a problem with the media is when they try to have it both ways. That is to say, we don't have any real impact on the dialogue because, you know, we're just giving people what they want. Yet they pay people hundreds and thousands of dollars to figure out how to make people millions upon millions of dollars. And it's not voodoo. It's not, you know, some weird, you know, it's not hoodoo, you know. It'd be one, you know, I mean, it's Vodun. There is a method. And there is a literacy, a cultural literacy that allows people to make a message that is going to have the odds of being more successful than another.
I was once on CNN debating the whole controversy about Beyonce's L'Oreal ad and whether or not they had lightened her skin when a picture of her in motion was placed against a picture of her in print. Everybody said, oh, there's no way that they didn't lighten her skin. You know, and I remember saying something like, I hope this doesn't revoke my black card. But, you know, I just don't want to believe that that is still happening this day and age.
Well, I think the beauty industry in setting very specific, very high standards for how a person is supposed to look in order to be beautiful is feeding off of the insecurity that people have. I believe that the more self-respect and self-esteem a person has, the more they won't buy into the sales pitch that you're not okay the way you are.
My favorite African proverb is, until the lion has a historian, the hunter will always be a hero. Unless we are able to understand and articulate the issue from multiple points of view, including from the point of view of those who are the recipients or on the receiving end of this oppressive, degrading image that has been created over generations for Black people, we're only going to continue to perpetuate the stereotypes.
Being that I've been on tons of video shoots, I look at the magazines and I see all the rap videos and all the media that surrounds rap. I've always found it a bit hypocritical that a lot of the rappers make this big deal about having a lot of Black pride, but then they'll flip around and we'll have a predominance of light-skinned women or women who are not Black in their videos, especially as the primary love interest. I think it's very hypocritical because what's the message you're sending to the Black girls in particular? Is that, oh, we aspire to be with non-Black women?
I can remember being a young girl wanting to be a model. I didn't see dark-skinned girls on covers of magazines. When I was in high school, my nickname was Grace Jones. And people used to say that to me as an insult because she was dark-skinned. But I didn't get it at first because I love Grace Jones. I thought she was the most beautiful, just the color of her skin, and I just loved everything about her. And eventually I was able to turn that around. But it wasn't easy. It doesn't happen overnight.
The other part of it is that, there's this issue called structural racism. We've been so focused, whenever you hear the word racism, people immediately think of individual racism. But the bigger elephant in the room now is the structural racism, the kinds of policies and practices that we have in place that perpetuate colorism, whether that's the things that you see in the media and advertising, and in the magazine and who gets selected to be the models, and in the movies who plays the lead character and who plays the servant role and who plays the Jezebel role, and on and on and on. Society is perpetuating it. Society has a responsibility to do something about it, to self-correct. Society is perpetuating it. Society has a responsibility to do something about it, to self-correct.
I, Barack Hussein Obama,
will to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
I'm so proud of the example that President Barack Obama has set. I know that as women, we were all holding our breaths when he first stepped onto the political scene, like, he's kind of cute, and he's smart, Harvard degree, lawyer, okay, Barack. But then we were like, watch, he got one of those light brights. Or, watch his wife be light-skinned, long hair or something. And when we saw Michelle, we were like, you go Michelle, go Barack. There was a certain relief that I think we all felt.
I am so happy that and I don't want to say real sister, but there is a black woman who is dark-skinned, in the White House. I love that. And she's not cleaning. She's not cooking. She's the first lady. And I love that. And I feel like because of her presence and her position, that people are more accepting of us now.
I love Mr. Obama in office so much because the first time you see black people on a regular basis, a family, on television. Usually when you see black people on TV, we on our way to jail, or we're rapping, or we're in sports. You don't get to see us in a positive light continually. Now, the world is forced to look at a whole black family all the time, and they're finding out that we just regular folk. We ordinary. We have the same pains and sorrows and joys as everybody else, But because of these type of teachings, black is considered a negative thing, a dark thing, a wrong thing.
I think the first responsibility is to acknowledge that there is power in those images. That there is power in advertising, magazine covers, that there is power in that, and that there is thought to that. That there are people who dedicated their lives to understanding how people will have an emotional, intellectual response to an image, to a sound, to a voice. That is what they have studied, and that is what they're getting paid 6-figure salaries to do, when not 7 figures. And that to then pretend that all that knowledge means nothing, that they are servants of the people and only reflecting back what the people want, is utterly ridiculous.
I live a very valuable life. And I feel really, really, really good that I've forgiven my parents. That I'm not still waving my finger saying it's all your fault. That I put that to rest and I realize that my life right now is my responsibility.
If you want to change a person, the first thing you must do is to change their awareness of themselves. So it starts with consciousness. We have to understand our history in real terms, not a watered down roots version, but a Sankofa version of our history and our Holocaust and the pain and the trauma and the damage that caused. In addition to that, we have to also understand our resiliency as a people. the values